You ready to
Yeah,
dive into it? Cool.
sure.
I'll give you a cheers to you.
Cheers,
Thank you for
friend.
doing this.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
inviting
it.
me.
Um, we can kind of just, if you're good with it, just jump straight into it. If you want to start with probably childhood, since that's going to interesting background.
Yeah,
Build up from there, I think. If
sure.
that's good with you, take it from growing up. What
Okay.
was it like?
So I had a unique childhood, and I was born in Wyoming. My parents were both working out there. That's kind of a whole nother story in and of itself. But at the point which I came in, they had gotten married and were living in Sheridan, Wyoming. My dad was a hired hand on a ranch out there,
Okay.
and so my brother was born there, and then he's 2 years older than I am, and then I was born there as well. And within a couple of years of that, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, because my dad was originally from Nebraska,
Okay.
and he grew up on a ranch there, and so my granddad and my grandmother were ready to retire, which, out there just kind of means that you let your next generation take over the workload, and, they moved off of the property into the little town that's close by. And so, stayed very active. My grandfather still, worked in the fields and helped my dad raise cattle for many years even after that. But so, when they were ready for that, my dad and mom moved back to Nebraska and moved back to that ranch. So lived there when I was little, and then started school there.
Okay. That was probably a unique place to.
Yeah, very unique.
Yeah.
I actually used to ride my pony to school.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can't say that too many places.
No, you can't.
That's,
And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, my first day of kindergarten, my brother, who was in, I guess, second grade at the time, he and I got on our horses and rode off, rode off to school together,
as one does.
Today's world, you probably, get in trouble for that, but out there, that was just the lifestyle. So we went to a little one-room schoolhouse that had about 14 kids, and we had a little barn there on the side, and so we would ride our horse to school and tie them up and go into the schoolhouse and have class, and then during recess we'd go out and water and give them a little grain or whatever.
That's just so wild to think about.
Yeah.
Just having this little, you have a little shack, and it's like, okay, well, tie the horse up. And
yeah. And, the funny thing is, I mean, there's one teacher for the whole school, and she's not out there doing it. I mean, in that environment, kids are raised to be really self-sufficient. And, so you've got all these little kids out there in this barn taking care of their horses.
Yeah.
But anyway, so started out there, and then my parents divorced. My mom had come from a very different environment, and she and my dad really loved each other, and had a very kind breakup, but it just wasn't the lifestyle she wanted to be in. So she wanted to be back near her family, which was in Maryland. So she moved back there, and my brother and I moved back with her during the school year, and then we would spend all of our vacations and then all summer with my dad in Nebraska. So.
That's kind of an interesting split then.
Yeah, it was
you're getting a
total dichotomy. I was in a big city on the East Coast, and then living on a ranch and farm. At that time, we were still farming a lot because my dad we raised a lot of wheat when I was little.
Oh, okay.
And then back, I guess in the 80s with the government subsidies and stuff, it became, really just wasn't worth it anymore. So we turned a lot of that land into pasture land, which we had always had cattle. My dad always raised Black Angus for breeding purposes, not for butchering, but they raised them, to sell into people's herds to, bring people's herds better genetics and that kind of thing. So
no, that's an interesting thing in itself. Getting into the whole farming idea of is like some of the stuff that I've like done through like my master's program relates to that of looking at the main thing that we looked at was like effects of like CAFOs or concentrated animal feeding operations in
Okay.
like North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And so we're looking at that's more dealing with like pigs
Okay.
in North Carolina. But like then from that I got interested in it more, and so then I started reading about like regenerative farming and all of this, and so about like the herding and like getting adding in animals to it. It's kind of crazy how you know it's just not as simple as like you know raise a cow.
From the market. Yeah.
No, it's so I always find that interesting. So I think it's wild that like you got to see how it actually works on like how does this work in like a normal realistic setting.
It's incredibly
what all
cool.
has to go on.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
I mean, I'm fascinated by it. You know, my folks still do it. You know, I have a stepmother who's been my stepmom for 40 some years, you know, so,
you
know, she and my dad have the ranch, and, you know, they still, to this day, that's what they do. And it's pretty incredible. They would, you know, have their herd, most of their herd, they artificially inseminate so that, you know, they can really control the bloodlines. And then every winter they would sell off their bull calves basically, and people would buy their bulls to breed into their herds and stuff. And you know, a lot of times they're selling, you know, semen and genetics and stuff just so you know that people can do that since they artificially inseminate. So it's really interesting. It's
a really complicated process.
It is. It really. I mean, if you're raising, you know, for quality livestock, it's totally different than just fattening up some beef cattle to sell them.
Oh yeah, certainly. Versus like just, I think that's where you get like the bad side of farming is where you have like the industrial side.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like stuck in a stall, and it's just like how fat can you get them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Versus kind of like on a range and like actually that's like actually farming versus like
my parents take better care of their animals than they do of their family. That's not true. They take amazing care of us, but they are so committed and focused on, you know, taking care of not just the animals but the land. I mean, it's incredibly important to them, and you know, I mean, it's a labor of love, and it's the hardest working environment I've ever seen. I mean, my parents could run circles around both of us 10 times. I mean, in their late 70s, you know, but they love it, and that's what they've done their whole lives every day, you know. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with the whole integration of the kind of, as you said, like the ecosystem of you have the plains that you have to take care of, and you have to make sure that are you getting grass growing correctly? Are you getting enough?
Oh yeah.
Is there any disease or any insects coming through that are like messing up the herd? Is there stuff?
Absolutely.
It's just a whole intertwined like process.
Yeah, and their health is a whole another. Yeah, I mean,
and you got to know your stuff. I mean,
you got to really know your stuff. I mean, you know, it's incredible to me. I know nothing. I mean, I look like I walk up there and just watch them, and I'm amazed. But you know, it's you know, they raise millet and alfalfa so that they've got that to feed them in the wintertime, because in the wintertime, obviously, there's so much snow out there. We're way up in northwestern Nebraska, and so there's very few trees and lots of snow. So in the winter, they can't graze on the pasture land. So, you know, they raise their crops so that they can feed them that during the winter. And then my stepmom always had a feed business, like, you know, selling bagged and bulk feed. So, you know, there's some of the feeds have different, you know, vitamins and things like that. And even some of them medicines, but they, you know, they're very cautious about giving medicine unless they really need it. But, you know, but it's a science for sure, you know, keeping them healthy, and, you know, and then that creates a whole nother workload, is, you know, like we said, all the farming of all of that, because it's, you know, raising alfalfa and then cutting it down and raking it and stacking it and you know, having that all ready for them. So it's a lot.
Yeah. How much did you like the kind of as a kid, did you enjoy like getting kind of to go spend time out there, and then getting like a mix of getting back to go to like the city and like all of that?
I did. I was a typical teenager who, by the time I got to my teen years, all my friends were going to the beach and hanging out for the summer, and I was going back, to Nebraska and trying to help out on the ranch. I mean, I'm kind of the black sheep of my family. I have 3 siblings, and they are all still out there and living that lifestyle and stuff. So, they were always a little more helpful than I was probably, but we were always, always working. I mean, that's part of being a farm family. I mean, it's you're fixing fences, you're putting up roofs, it's just a constant. You're moving irrigation pipe, and you're doing all of these chores that a girl living in the city who wants to be at the beach is like, man, this kind of sucks. But the reality of it is, as an adult, I mean, I had 2 very different worlds growing up that gave me a lot of enlightenment and perspective for sure. So I loved it. To answer the question, I loved going out there, and it was also kind of fun because to this day I still have really close friends that I grew up with out there that we didn't see them, but every so often. And when you're from a very small little farming ranching community, there's not new people coming and going. So when you're the new person coming and going, everybody's excited to see you and they want to hang out. And,
you get to hear what the big city was like.
Exactly. They want to go down to the river and drink beer with you, and do all the things you're not supposed to do. And so I mean, I loved it. So
not quite the same as getting to go to the beach, but definitely pluses. So
no, and we all did 4-H. I mean, that's just a given out there. It's not just to teach the kids stuff. It's also, I mean, you're showing your cattle in an open environment where people, all the neighbors from neighboring counties are coming in and seeing them and stuff too. So there's something about that that's good for the ranches, and they're getting their word out and letting people see the quality of animals and that kind of thing that they raise. So so we always did 4-H too, which nobody in Baltimore was doing 4-H. Not at all.
so I didn't realize it was Baltimore you were actually in.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I didn't realize it was not only a city, you were in Baltimore. Wow.
And Baltimore is an interesting place too, because it like my mom grew up there, and she grew up in a very, very nice area in Baltimore, and in a reasonably affluent family, and it's not a bad place. It turned into just a terrible crime ridden city. Yeah, it's horrible. And there are nice places outside of the city. I still have some family that lives north of the city and stuff, and some friends obviously, but it's not a safe place to be, and it's quite sad because it's kind of imploding on itself.
It's just fallen from what it once was. So not only were you transitioning from like this ride your pony to school, but I mean, you're going into like the heart of like,
a little bit north of it, Towson.
So you're still like dealing with
Towson. Yeah, I mean, it was city for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a major culture shock. I'm just like,
yes, it was.
I mean, that's not going from like Nebraska to like TR or like Greenville. I mean,
not even close.
No, that's not even nearly the same.
But it was nice because my mom is she's the oldest of 7, and my grandfather was one of 7. So I have 22 first cousins on that side and stuff. So there was a lot of family around, and
you have more than your schoolhouse.
Way more. And so even though it was a big city environment, my grandparents had a place down on the Eastern Shore, and were very invested in that. So they would take my brother and I down there on the weekends and stuff like that while my mom was working. And so we got to spend a lot of time still away from the city. But it was definitely.
Well, it's probably helpful that you had at least like some background before jumping in there.
Yeah.
Was your mom like on the way there like, so you're about like
Get ready.
get ready. Like, did anyone give you at least like a warning or something?
You know, that's a good question. I honestly don't recall. You know, that was maybe a somewhat traumatic time because, you know.
I mean, a lot going on outside of that.
Yeah,
Sure.
you know, you're leaving.
Not only you're leaving that, but
Yeah.
families happening and.
But
Yeah.
I come from a really very, very loving family. And, you know, so I had a lot of uncles that, you know, were there and very present, and a couple of aunts that lived there. But, you know, my uncles were kind of always in the picture. And, you know, one of them went out there and drove back cross country with us. And, you know, they just always, I mean, there was a lot of family around to soften the blow, you know.
I mean, that's the biggest part of having just that interconnected of the village of who's around you. And I mean, that's a very big part of any transition in life. Is having that. So going through like high school and getting out of it, what was kind of your plan moving? Did you want to get out of there and go like on a new adventure, or did you kind of already decide that?
I wanted to get out of there. So I never really liked school. I was never really a school kid. I got good grades. I was always on a roll and great grades. I just didn't enjoy it. So I was pretty determined I was either going to go be a fighter pilot or a ski bum. Just kind of like my life, I guess. Two totally different worlds. I mean, I always had the interest of, you know, flying and military and that kind of thing. So I had seriously considered that. I know that I got a couple college applications. I don't know if I ever even sent them in. But I had, from the time that I had been in middle school, I guess, I had started babysitting for a family that had two kids that, you know, I knew since they were infants, and babysat for them, became very, very close with their whole extended family, and they were a big part of my life, you know, through middle and high school. You know, traveled with them at spring breaks and all that kind of stuff, vacationed with them to watch the kids and just, you know, whatnot. But he was a dentist and he wanted to grow his practice. And so he had said, you know, hey, I kind of want to send you to school to get your, you know, certificate so you can be a dental assistant and get your x-ray license and all that kind of stuff and come work for me. And so I thought, well, you know, for now that's a pretty good option.
It's a pretty solid path.
So I did that straight out of high school, and I ended up working for him for, I guess, probably about 4 years. And it was great. You know, it was a small family-owned practice, and, you know, his dad and his brother and his sister all worked there as doctors and nurses and all that kind of stuff. But then, you know, I got a little stir crazy. I mean, I'm not really meant to sit in a 4x10 room for 10 hours a day. You know, I mean, it was an amazing opportunity for me at the time, but just wasn't what I wanted to do forever, nor was it ever anticipated that it would be, you know. But,
but at least gave you like a solid starting point of something of, I think a very resonating thing from doing this that I've picked up on is that like 18 to really around like 25, it just seems like no one really had like an explicit, I think maybe one or two, but like no one's really like, bang, this is the path.
Very few people
have had like,
and the ones that do, some of them make it, but I feel like a lot of people, you know,
it branches to something else.
Something happens, you meet somebody, or you're introduced to something that you gain some interest in, and, you know,
it's the
turns
wild
you
part.
in another direction.
It's the like it's an unimagined stepping stone of maybe you thought this was going to be your 30-year, 40-year career, and all of a sudden it's not, and whatever. Like, you know, you take a pivot and you do something else. But I think what is interesting is like, I imagine kind of as you'll get into, but it probably helps some skill set or something to get you to a different spot that otherwise you would have never had a door open or never. I mean, it's just wild how those work out.
Absolutely.
It's even wild how how you got the job in the first place.
Yeah.
You just happened to nanny for the right person, you know?
Exactly. And, I'm watching college football this year, and all of a sudden the Michigan coach, I think it was Michigan, maybe Notre Dame, I don't know. One of the coaches, they say his name, and I'm like, wait a minute, I think that was one of our patients. And it was Biff Poggi. You probably know who the coach is for. I can't think of who the coach is for. Anyway, I was like, there's not many Biff Poggies. But, it's just funny, like the little things that tie you back to a place in your life or a time,
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's funny how many people you just run across.
Yeah.
Just happen to be just cross paths, and you're like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
There they go.
Yeah.
After you go through the dentist office and staying in a desk, what kind of where does it
What's
shift
my next
to?
chapter?
Yeah.
So, I mentioned I had several uncles. So my mom, as I mentioned, was the oldest of 7, and I had an uncle, or have an uncle, who was the youngest, and not a whole lot older than I was, and am always very close to him. And we were actually at my grandparents' house. We used to spend all of our Thanksgivings. We'd go down to the Eastern Shore, and my grandparents lived on the water. It was really a beautiful place, and go duck hunting in the morning and stuff. And so I was literally sitting on the tailgate of a truck cleaning ducks with my uncle one Thanksgiving, and he at the time was, I don't know, probably in his late 20s, maybe 30, and I was probably 20 and a little older. Anyway, he said, man, we got to figure something out to where we're not working for other people, And I was like, yeah, we really do. And so we kind of started talking about, what we could do to open a business together. At the time, he had a young family, like I mentioned, and they lived in Atlanta. And so one thing led to the next, and, we kind of had this idea to open like a retail store. And so, we said, well, let's kind of talk to some people about what cool towns would be to do it and whatnot. And we kind of said, well, if we figure something out, he wasn't in a position to move and do it, but I was, young and could footloose and fancy free, and so both of us went back to, I went back to Baltimore, he went back to Atlanta, and we started talking to people, and both of us had people mention Charleston, and neither one of us had ever been there. So he reached out to a real estate agent about, coming down to maybe look at some properties, and just randomly, and we both flew down there and met there one weekend, and met with the real estate broker. And she was like, yeah, I know this, older couple that's ready to retire, and they have a lease on Market Street, and they want to sell their lease out, and, we could get it before it even goes on the market. And so we kind of went, man, we better jump on this. And, we had no clue what we were doing. And,
it's part of the fun.
Why not? Everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody has, all my patients that I was working with, and my dentist, and everybody were, what are you thinking? And I said, the worst thing that's going to happen to me is I'll end up back here. If I fall on my face, I come back, right? And I knew that they would always welcome me back. So anyway, that was in January. By April, I had quit my job and moved to Charleston by myself. And my uncle was in Atlanta, and we kind of decided that, he would be more on the business side of it, and that I would be on the day-to-day running it. And so we opened this little store called The Big Fish, and it was really fun. It was down on Market Street in Charleston, and kind of early 90s, and was not a commercialized city at that point, and lots of little mom and pops and fun restaurants, and a super fun place to be when you're in your 20s. And
I imagine so.
It was a ton of fun, and I loved it, because I really had never worked retail per se, and working retail in a in a vacation spot that people love, and they're happy to be there and they're excited to be there is pretty fun. So so I stayed down there for several years and did that.
Yeah. What was like what was the main like selling?
So we were a casual clothing store, so we did a lot of like Charleston t-shirts and stuff like that. And then, because we had this kind of fun name, I started doing like, Big Fish Brewery and, different like silly stuff like that. And then, ended up selling, and I was the first one down there selling like Life is Good and Rainbow Flip-Flops and Tommy Bahama and, kind of that type of stuff. So had a guy that was lived near my grandparents in Maryland. They did these hand-carved, hand-painted fish, and we sold those. They were became a collectible thing. And, so we had just a weird little mix of all kinds of different fun stuff. But, and it was fun. I mean, we were there for several years and, had families that would come to Charleston every year, and their kids were growing, and I got to see them. They come running in and give me a big hug and be like, "Look, Miss Heidi, I lost my tooth." It was fun,
Yeah.
So I loved it. It was a fun time.
It'd be a cool place to be. I mean, especially in your early 20s, and you're getting, go hang out down there. It's a fun time. It's
I loved it.
I don't know. It's interesting to think about it not being so commercialized, I guess. Because I've only ever seen it as like, what it is now.
So when I moved there, there was no corporate businesses on Market Street at all, and really none on King Street. The Omni was there, which is now the Charleston Place, but it was the Omni back then. And within that Omni building, there was like a White House Black Market and one or two other little corporate stores, but that was it. There was nothing else outside of that. And then, during the time that I was there, Charleston really went through its boom, and things started getting really expensive. And we actually what ended up happening was, well, I'm skipping kind of a big chapter, but I had ended up meeting what would become my husband while I was down there, and was kind of ready to rock and roll, get out. He lived in Greenville, and so we were going to sell the business, and we had somebody that was going to buy it from us, and then 9/11 happened. And but at that point, I had already sublet my apartment. I was living on Hollow Palms.
You're just really living up down there.
I mean, in the 90s, you could be, you could live on Hollow Palms, and I mean, it was awesome. You could afford that back then. So, but at that point, I emotionally had already kind of
detached and
was ready to roll. So, the buyers ended up backing out, and I said, I'm ready to go and kind of start the next phase of my life. So we just sold every single thing in the store, and
that was that.
Closed the door and walked away.
Huh.
So,
well, I mean, and
I
would say it was successful.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing opportunity. And, going on a wing and a prayer. I mean, people believed in us and loaned us money, and people being banks and our landlord who leased us the property and stuff like that. I mean, they had to have some faith in us that we were going to pull it out. I mean, we didn't have a big bank account or a backer or a history or any real business plan, so.
Just a dream.
Dream and a work ethic.
Yeah. Two most important things.
Yeah.
That's wild part of going through 9/11, that.
Yes.
Just curious, were you at like work when that happened? And
no, I actually was. I was getting ready for work at my place on Isle of Palms, and I watched it happen. And on the news, actually, I was in the bathroom, and I heard it. Like getting out of the shower, and I heard them talking about the first one hitting. So I ran into the other room and watched as the second one hit. And I called my boyfriend, And I said, "Oh my God, are you watching TV?" You know, and
Yeah.
much like many people did. And he said, "No, I'm driving." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're never going to believe what just happened."
Yeah.
You know, and I needed to go open the store. So I actually like unplugged my TV. You know, it was like a little.
Yeah.
So I unplugged my TV and carried it to the store with me and plugged it in. And I mean, I remember sitting there on the stool behind the counter, just watching it in complete disbelief.
Yeah.
And, you know, finally I ended up closing the store about midday. I mean, I was just emotionally taxed. And I said, you know,
This is, yeah.
yeah. So I actually drove up to Greenville so that I could be up
Yeah.
here with him. And, and then ironically, we went and got dinner that night and I got food poisoning. So I spent the next like 3 days literally like laying in bed. But I mean, I just, you know, I'll always remember watching that just nonstop because I was sick as a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy part of it. That's like Keely, her parents, she was an infant, and so she was sick the night before. And so they had unplugged every TV like in their house, like everything was just off. So they had like the phones unplugged because like the landline, so they didn't.
So it didn't wake her up.
So nothing woke her up, and so her dad was a cop, and so he left in the morning, and it was like no one, and he was like, "Well, this is just like he would try to go through like McDonald's or Dunkin', whatever it was. There's no one there," and he's like, "You know, I guess I'll go home." And so he went home. And they turned it on, and they're like, "Oh, yeah. That's what happened."
It was crazy.
And so they didn't find and then they finally called like his parents to be like, "Oh yeah, we're okay," like you know, because
were they up there?
They were in Florida.
Oh, okay.
But since he was a cop, they didn't know if he would be like going or if something happened to him. But finally, it was like they could finally call him because otherwise they had no. And I was like, "That's one. It's wild because." How many notifications I get on my phone now that it's impossible to miss anything.
Right.
So for me, it's a weird to think about it.
We didn't have that back
like
then.
You don't have that.
We did not. Yeah.
And then too, it's just eerie to be like.
I think I had a flip phone at the time. I'm pretty sure I had a flip phone.
Yeah. But I mean, you take the battery packs out of those, and it's just like.
Yeah,
it's
disconnected from the world.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on.
Well, and you didn't get texts on them. I mean, that wasn't even a thing, you know? So unless somebody called you or you saw it on TV or the radio, obviously, but, you know.
Yeah, but other than that, it's like, if you just simply just unplug it, it's done.
Yeah, you're disconnected from the world.
Yeah, no, it's pretty impossible considering everything. But yeah, that whole time is always, it's wild what everyone kind of, their story of that day is
where they were, what they remember. Yeah, I mean, I still remember Matt Lauer and Katie Couric, you know, were on TV, and they were talking. They were like, "Oh my God, what just happened?"
Yeah,
you know, it was crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, it's odd event. It's always there.
Changed my life, you know. We weren't able to sell the business, and
I mean that's really important.
I mean, listen, that's a very selfish way to put that. I really didn't mean it that way because so many people's lives were affected so much more tragically. But you know, as far as how it affected us at the time, you know, we were just.
But it's wild that it just affected everyone, either directly, but then you also just everyone,
changed the course of the world.
Yeah. Legitimately did. Changed how a lot of people's lives went. It's just crazy to think about.
It really is crazy to think about.
What all's gone through there. So once that's all done and kind of moved past that, you get up to Greenville. Did you have a job lined up or your next? No, just another. Let's see what happens.
Winging a prayer.
Yeah. Moving on to the next one.
Yes, blind faith. So I mentioned that I had been dating my ex at that time for a couple of years, long distance, and so I moved up here and was kind of in the process of taking care of everything with the store, because that happened obviously in September, and so we had just re-signed a lease on the store so that we could sell it, to the new buyer and whatnot. And so there was a lot to take care of with shutting all that down and kind of, backing up and taking care of everything. So I really didn't want to work right away because I was still back and forth to Charleston and dealing with all of that and whatnot. So I was like, let me just handle this first. And my roommate at the time worked for a temp agency in Charleston, and they had some jobs that they were trying to fill in Greenville. And she said, you know, hey, we've got some jobs that we're trying to fill. Do you want to take one of them and, you know, go whenever you want and just make some money? And it happened to be at a, the one that I ended up taking was at a countertop fabricator. They did marble and granite, silestone and whatnot. So, you know, I took that with the intention of just having it here and there when I needed, you know, to fill my time until I figured out what I was going to do. And ended up, you know, they said, you know, we really would like to hire you on full time, and we want somebody to kind of run logistics, you know, schedule our crews and work with the builders to, you know, communicate installs and that kind of stuff. So I said, yeah, sure, why not? You know, so so I took that and worked there for a little while, and during that time developed a lot of relationships with the local builders and stuff. And so during that time, I had a fella from one of the plumbing supply houses that came to me, and he said, you know, hey, I know you've got great relationships and you've got a good reputation, and I feel like we would really benefit from putting somebody outside, doing outside sales, calling just on custom builders. We've never had that, and nobody in town's ever had that. And so we're interested. And I said, well, you know, let me think about it. And, called him one day and said, I'm ready. So so I went to work for Gateway Supply. That was Bill Fitz, who has turned into a lifelong friend. Very, very good man. And I said, you know, I don't know the first thing about plumbing. I really don't know a lot about custom building. And he's like, don't worry, I'll teach you, you know. And he did. I mean, he just took me under his wing and, you know, taught me about plumbing and took me out in the field and showed me what was what. And, so together we kind of built a little thing, and, you know, worked there for quite a while. And then while I was there, had ProSource Supply, which was a competitor. And was locally owned, as Gateway was as well, independent companies, both of them. And Grover and Tanya Martin, a husband and wife team, owned ProSource. And they called me one day and said, you know, hey, we want to talk to you. And, you know, I don't job hop. I mean, you know, it sounds like it. We've talked about all my different little phases. But, you know, in my adult life, I've really had 4 jobs, you know. And so it was a hard decision, and I had a lot of loyalty to Bill because, and to some of the other guys at that company. I mean, Gateway was very good to me, and they were a very
well, I mean, you spend 40 hours somewhere. It's, you know, every single week. It's, you know, you develop. Oh, it's hard.
It is hard.
Like, you know,
especially when you respect the people you work for. You know. So I really liked our team there, and they still have a lot of the same people there. I mean, that's, you know, 20 some years later. But anyway, Grover and Tanya came to me and kind of wanted me to take a different role. Tanya was wanting to kind of phase out, and she ran all of the showrooms and really dealt with the custom side, and wanted me to take her place. And I said, you know, I just love what I do. I love being in outside sales, and you know, having just run my own business for all these years, I'm a leader, and I'm good with, you know, with running a team, and I will be a cheerleader and help this business grow, and you know, do everything I can and learn from you guys. But I really want to stay in outside sales, and you know, and they didn't have anybody calling on the custom builders at the time, so they said, you know what? That's a great answer. We want you. So, so I went to work for them, and I really saw more opportunity there for. They were much more progressive than where I was. You know, they were keeping their showrooms much more updated with newer, more exciting stuff, and you know, and I was working with people like Susan, you know, who if you're going to take designers into the same showroom over and over, you've got to have fresh, new, fun, exciting stuff that, they can show their clients and they can be excited about. And, and that's what ProSource was at the time. And so it was a good opportunity for the success of my customers, which ultimately meant that it would be to my success. So anyway, I decided to make that move, and been there for almost 15 years. And so,
yeah. I think a very interesting part, I don't know if you realize this, but the time you got to Greenville was probably about the peak time to like really get a foot in the door.
Yeah.
Of the fact that you had late 90s, early 2000s, you're transitioning to like a downtown Greenville that's actually like on the come up.
Yes.
And not like a rundown place.
Yes.
And now you're getting an influx of people to where like custom homes is really taking off.
Yes.
And it's wild that that's just like how
it was a stroke of luck. For sure. I mean, which it was interesting that you say that, because when I was in Charleston, I watched Charleston go through their tremendous transformation.
They've got in near the base.
Yes. And, Charleston was winning all these awards nationally for, maintaining the integrity of the architecture in the old town, but still growing and, having such an ability to continue to grow in the right way. And as soon as I got to Greenville, you're right. That's exactly where Greenville was on the front edge of that, and they took a lot of cues from Charleston, and obviously have done a phenomenal job. But yes, I mean, it was kind of funny because the first several years that we lived here, we were skydiving every weekend, and so we were never ever in Greenville. So I really didn't understand how kind of quiet and
it was
boring Greenville was, because we were never here on the weekends. So we'd get off work and we'd leave Friday afternoon and come back late Sunday night. And so then, when life slowed down and we got married and, started trying to have kids, all of a sudden we were here on the weekends, and I was like,
yeah,
what are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because to your point, you didn't even think about it.
No.
It's not like it's not nearly, it had no shot at what it's at now. There was really nothing there you go down to this kind of rundown downtown pretty much where you don't really want to be. And so you just go, like, you don't think about letting me go.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
This is Gilly. I've got it silenced, but sorry.
No, you're good. But it's just wild. I was like, wow, that's an interesting time to get to both places.
Yeah.
That both cities might art. Maybe you brought the success to both places.
I'd like to claim responsibility for that. I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up to a Heidi win.
Yeah. give you a 2 for Heidi right there.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll just take a fraction of the income that all the revenue that's come to the city.
Yeah, no problem. It's I've just single-handedly brought success to both places. It's no biggie. No problem.
I wish I had that kind of power.
Maybe we'll get Mayor White to give you a call. Give an award. Something. Figure something out for you.
Bring the energy. Yeah.
Also, you met Miss Vernon.
Yes.
When did that relationship start becoming of, because you have Dillard that was also taken off at that time of, I imagine that's one of your all's clients, working with them.
Oh, yeah.
But where did that kind of start building?
So, when I was still at Gateway, I was trying to get in the door with those guys. That was, back then, it was Tom Dillard and Brian Jones, and they were in just a little office park over off Pelham Road. And I had tried, running up on them on a job site and knocking on their door several times, and never really could get anywhere, and ended up finally getting through to Tom and saying, hey, would you afford me some time and go have lunch, and so he and Susan and I went and had lunch, and they gave me a chance, and they were definitely in their infancy too, but they were really starting to do a lot of marketing and doing some really smart things that a lot of the custom builders at the time weren't taking the chance to do. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, certainly a risk financially, and
Mm-hmm.
so they, like I said, they gave me an opportunity,
Yeah.
and I have worked hard for them for many years, and I
Mm-hmm.
love working with them. So I've gotten to see the growth of that business too, and
Yeah.
you know they've done amazing things, and so you know, through that relationship and working with them as closely as I have for all those years, I had the very good fortune of meeting one of my favorite families,
Yeah.
and you know, that was how I met your mom and dad. Was we did their house many
Yeah.
moons ago,
Mm-hmm.
and your mom and Susan and I really just hit it off, and you know, we would go out for drinks here and there and whatnot,
Yeah.
and then over the years, your mom's become one of my dearest friends. So, and your whole family,
Love to hear
really.
that.
I mean, really, the whole family is just a beautiful part of my life. You know, I've had the pleasure of getting to know you and your sister over the years, and you know, Maddie has had a big part in Gilly's life. You know, she was always a really good mentor and babysat for Gilly when, you know, Gilly was younger. And then as I was going through my divorce, you know, she was a really big presence for Gilly.
Yeah.
And so consider myself very blessed to have you guys.
Well,
So,
we do as well.
yeah.
We're glad. Very mutual feeling.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see how everyone just starts to kind of like interweave in getting all of this. Also, just on a, I think that's why doing this I think is interesting of getting to hear everyone's stories, but also just getting to kind of, I don't know, a chance to show of how much like all the people kind of through your life and how much how it relates to like mine and everyone else's, and
the influence.
it just keeps building on. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's very unique, very cool. That
it is very unique.
It goes back to the main idea of like you have this village of people, and you don't always get to share, you know, your perspective and your stories that you have that other people probably would benefit from hearing. You know, I think it's
I love that you're doing
important.
it. I think that you've gotten some really cool conversations going.
I've enjoyed it. I think it's great to get to do it. I just think I don't know who said it, but it's like we were with someone. It's like, well, if they just don't ever share that story, it's just dead with them.
Right.
I mean, it's just gone. When they're gone, it's gone. And it's a little morbid, but like, it's a really true statement of like the fact of if you don't ever talk about it, if you don't ever pass it down to someone, then no one, you know, it's just gone.
Yeah.
And you know, you just, I think why not? And I think there's so many cool people that we've gotten to know that Dad and Mom have gotten to know that it's like, why not try to bring that message to others, and why not do it for personal interest?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
relationships and friendships are what make my world go round. You know, I mean, that's if it weren't for the friendships that you create, and through that hearing people's stories and learning what their backgrounds are like and what made them who they are. You know? I mean, it puts a different perspective on your relationships, you know?
Oh yeah, big time. Friendships, I mean, that's like the biggest role player in so much of your life, career, personal success and all. I mean, like, you know, but you could probably attest to it too, but it's just like so many people that you can, I know people that have helped me get to where I'm at. There's, I mean, it's just a long list of like,
absolutely,
you know, and it's people you might have never thought, like, I didn't think I'd meet some people along the way.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, now, you know, you're good friends with them, and it's like, wow, that's really helped me. Like, you know.
Absolutely.
It's great.
And it opens doors, right? I mean, people that you know see opportunities that may fit you and bring you into them, and, you know, you just never know.
You never know where it's going to go, is the main thing.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get from it. But if nothing else, it's better to have a friend than an enemy. So why not try to, you know, why not just play it the best you can, you know?
Absolutely.
That's always the thought. interesting part of your story is 2008 to 2010 ish happened. How did that kind of work with your field?
Very dicey.
Yeah.
Obviously, the housing industry was affected tremendously during that
Yeah.
time. Ironically, I was on maternity leave, so I went on maternity leave September of 2008. And
Do you just have impeccable timing for everything, or is it just a natural like?
literally while I was on maternity leave, the
Yeah.
financial world just crumbled. I
Yep.
mean, I can remember sitting up, with the baby in the middle of the night, watching the news and just going, "What in the heck is happening?" But I think that everybody just reevaluated where they were spending time and money and resources, and the ones that were shrewd, and I mean, I'm a big believer in karma, and I think the people that really believed in their team and invested in their team even when it was hard for them to be able to keep them employed. Were successful and pulled out of it. So, and I think that again, we are incredibly fortunate in where we are, right? I mean, there are very few places that rebounded from that the way that this area did, and so that was unique to us for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the upstate's generally pretty lucky in the fact of you were just at kind of the rise of that exponential curve, to where it probably offset a lot of the damage if you were still flat.
Right.
That would have happened. I mean, I guess always ifs, and you can't really prove it, but I would have to imagine that helped out quite a bit. I think I don't know. It's I think a lot to what you're saying of that if you were getting very over leveraged and you're really looking for what is the dollar sign kind of versus building of how can I make this a very strong brand and company and team really of people, you kind of, I mean, I'd say a lot of them probably got burned. And it's kind of, I think it shows how his leadership really affects what's going on when times go down.
Well, and I mean, if you've built a team of people that you are invested in and they care for who they work for, I mean, I have no doubt that, I mean, I was at Gateway at the time, and I know what ProSource went through, which was very similar, was, I know that they lost money keeping people on during those times, but it came back to them, right? They bit the bullet during the hard times to maintain those people.
Yeah.
And then when business came back around, those people were very loyal to them, you know? So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would build loyalty, I mean, dramatically from the fact of you're seeing what's going on, you're never hidden from the fact of it. All of us eyes are open. So having a company back you, I mean, would really build strong trust both ways.
Oh, yeah.
I do think it's interesting, like now with how it's going. Of now you're having like AI and like how is that? And you're seeing companies have like layoffs, and it's like that's going to be interesting if that backfires on you. How you're going to like shift and get people to like come want to work for you. I think it's going to be kind of tough for those companies.
I think AI is a very interesting animal.
Yeah. It's interesting that everyone I have had on here also talks about it, regardless of their field.
Yeah, it affects everybody.
I don't know. I was talking to Miss Vernon about how they're kind of integrating and using it, and it's just unique how everyone can find some use for it. I mean, overall business, it makes sense on like everything is a business, so doing cash flows and inventory and whatever, you could find a way to automate it. But with her, it was like the interior design stuff and how they're using it. But yeah, I don't know if ProSource is using it any like fascinating way or not? Or
People a lot smarter than me are trying to figure that out, and
mm-hmm.
and I don't know exactly how we're using it yet. I think that we're all complacent if we're not looking at how it is going to affect us and how we can benefit from it. Because it's coming, it's here. And I think that we have part of our team, which is something I don't get into. I'm still really old fashioned. I'm a paper and pencil, so I don't mess with AI a whole lot. I find it fascinating, and
mm-hmm.
I piddle with it a little bit for travel and personal stuff. But
mm-hmm.
From a business perspective, as of yet, we are not utilizing it in a way that I'm aware of. But that is definitely something that Resource as a company is looking into.
Mm-hmm.
And how it's going to affect us. I mean, the obvious, like you mentioned, on the financial side, on the inventory side,
mm-hmm.
there's a lot of that kind of stuff that clearly would be positively affected by it.
I think this is just the main thing of like repetitive data entry.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can do that. Like, sitting there typing in, just numbers constantly, can go on and fill that out. But I mean, I think it's just, I don't think it's replacing, like, I don't think it can replace a whole profession. To me, it's just more of like the technology is so scary because it's unknown.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it as like when the computer came along and it was like resistance to what's going to happen and like what's going to do.
You fear the unknown.
You fear the unknown a lot. But I mean, once again, if it replaced every job, then what would, who's going to be paying the companies to buy their product?
Right.
So, like, there has to eventually just be a cap of how much you'll actually do for companies anyway, unless you just come up with a whole universal way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
But, once again, I think I highly doubt it reaches that level of, like, sophistication and intelligence. But it is going to be a very interesting couple of years.
For sure.
I
know there's, a lot of builders that are starting to use it for estimating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some very easy
mm-hmm.
algorithms to figuring out, needs for lumber and budgets and that kind of stuff that they're using it for. And so, there's a place for it. There's probably a lot of places for it in our business, in our industry.
I think the funniest part is I was talking to Mark about it, and we were just talking about it, and he was like, well, I don't Google anything anymore because I just use like chat.
Exactly. Poor Google's the one that lost his job.
I think Google's the one that's getting kicked to the curb more than anyone. Because I'm like,
that's
you're
a good
right.
Markism. I can see that.
It is. But he's right. If I want to find out something, it's like chat. What's this? And then if it's like you're shopping for something, it's like, well, I want this tailored to XYZ, and it pulls up 5 links to what you want, and it's like, this one's rated well because it's good in this field, and and it's like, well, that's a lot more helpful than when I go on Google and see like
it took a whole lot less time. Clicking around and stuff. It's all
it's right there, and it's telling me why I should be buying it.
Right, I know.
But
it's pretty incredible.
It's really wild. I like to talk about it every time I can because I did my whole thesis on it.
Oh, did you?
And so every time I just
So, you'll see it in your field, in the civil engineering side of things and stuff, won't you?
Yeah. What I did with it was look at it with bike planning.
Mm-hmm.
And so how could you use it in that field? But like from it of like tinkering with it so much, what you could do with it is pretty, if you want like a site plan, you can get a site plan in like 30 seconds of like, here's a aerial image. Can you draft me like whatever conceptual design you want? Engineering specs, I think it would fall very short of like it's dimensions wise. I don't think it's 100% accurate. I would say it's not close enough to being like accurate enough of the time that I would trust it without a doubt. Estimation's also one of those where I thought it was kind of like it's just not 100% there. But the things where it's like text of like write me a draft of something, and give me sources for it, I think it's way past what people were like skeptical at first of like, oh, it's going to fabricate a source or it's going to pull in this or that. But I mean, I would say that it's very like, I would say it's so far past that of that it's not really like a concern. I think it's more when you're going to make it to a published report, are you looking over the document still as you would for any other someone under you handing you something, or are you just taking it and being like done? Like, you know?
Well, I feel like I get emails
problem.
and stuff from the higher ups that I look at it and I go, yeah, they ChatGPT'd this. You know, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like even we were having a meeting where there was a presentation that someone was giving, and afterwards we were all like, those weren't her words. I mean, like she doesn't, so she clearly, but I mean, that's what it's for. It's a tool. Right?
It's a tool.
So,
well, once again, if you got to go present something in 3 hours, I can make a presentation and now I can figure it out. I don't know. It's getting very sophisticated now that they're working on building really design tools. So like, you're now making very customized, like pretty cool PowerPoints and stuff that you can go present. But wording, it just, unless you're providing it samples of like, this is how I talk, it's going to sound that kind of robotic-y.
100%.
Especially when you're reading it and you see like the dashes that no one ever uses, or like the weird formatting, and you're like, okay, well,
I know where this came from.
I have a very I'm 99% positive that that's not. But I mean, it's rapidly evolving.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
very much so.
I think it's a benefit to use it, and I would stay strong that I do not think it produces really like final products, but it produces very good drafts of. That's why you're a professional and getting paid to look at things and go do it. Yeah. Yeah. So I digress.
It's an interesting topic, and it's fun to talk to people who actually have, done research and know about it. Because
now I'll show you the thing I got it to make. Once we're done with this, but I got it to draft like a bike plan for Greenville.
Really?
And so what I did, well, it's complex to explain what I did.
You have to show me.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just take time of talking through it, but it's just like, I simply just created a chat bot, like, tailored to bike planning, and then had it draft bike plan for Greenville, and it came out fairly, to me, it's like you had a very solid rough draft of where if you went and did kind of the work behind it of like gathering more data analysis, doing like traffic analysis and public engagement and getting feedback, you'd probably have a final plan like very quickly.
Really?
But I mean, it's just also the gap of, does a city want to use that? Will it, like run into data privacy and and to me, it's like most of this is public information, so I don't think you should be scared of using it. Don't really see a point. I wouldn't upload your social security number to it.
Of course
not. But this follows like common sense, like, like to me it's like, does it pass the common sense test of I wouldn't give this to like the internet?
Right.
Yeah. That's like, but I understand legality and we shouldn't, you gotta figure it out. For whatever, but
I was listening to something on the news when I was driving down the road yesterday, and they were talking about a lot of places that like going into concerts or sporting events, that kind of stuff. That they would be using facial recognition through AI, and how people were worried about the what'd you call it, data?
Yeah, like the data privacy and the
Yes, and they were saying that. They were developing a way that it would dump it every 30 days or something, but there were still a lot of, anyway, it's just very interesting to think about all the little parts of it. Like I said, I'm still,
I don't know, you have Face ID on your phone and like, you have,
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, the things that probably are like already out there.
Listen, there's a lot more interesting people that somebody's going to go after if they want something from me. So
not like you too worried about it. To get more back to you, skydiving. When did you start? What like because you've done a lot of fun side quest stuff.
I have, yes,
Um,
I've had a very fun time. So skydiving is something that I always wanted to do.
mhm.
When I was in high school, honestly, I can remember my mom talking about it, saying, wouldn't it be fun? And we didn't have the money, and so when I moved to South Carolina, it was one of the things that I said to myself, when I get my feet on the ground and
Mhm.
get to where I can do it, I'm going to go out there and do it. So,
Yeah.
having moved to Charleston, like I said, by myself and not knowing anybody, as I met people, I would say, hey, you want to go skydiving? And they'd be like, yeah, man, let's go, and then it would, would come down to it, and I'd be like, we're going to go
Right.
this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can't
yeah,
wait.
I'm not going to be able to make it. So after, that happening for a while, I finally said, forget it. I'm going to go whether people go with me or not. So, I planned a weekend and had a couple people that were going to go who all backed out at the last minute, of course. And so I got up and October 1st, 1995, drove myself to Walterboro, South Carolina. And, at the time I didn't have two nickels to rub together. And so I didn't want to do a tandem because I knew I was going to love it. So I
Yeah.
actually went through the class that you can go through to jump on your own, your first jump. You have instructors that jump with you, but you're actually physically not attached to somebody. And I can remember most every minute of that day. And it was just life changing for me. I mean, it literally changed my whole life. I loved it. It was such a free, liberating, beautiful, like it just everything about it was really moved me. And I just couldn't wait to do it again. So I started jumping as much as I could, and the drop zone didn't take credit cards at the time, and I was like, that's the only way I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I called the drop zone owner one day and I said, I'm going to have my credit card guy come out and talk to you, and we're going to get you set up on credit cards so Heidi can afford to skydive.
Yeah.
And so I started jumping, and just couldn't get enough of it. So I jumped a lot for several years. Ended up, starting to do some base jumping, and just the people I met skydiving, just it was just a different world. I mean, it was just a level of fun and freedom that most people didn't understand. And so, started traveling a lot and jumping wherever I could, and ended up meeting my best friends through it, who to this day are my family. I've always said, have my given family, my chosen family, and they've been a part of everything that's happened to me for the last 30 years, but we started doing some skydiving and base jumping here and there, and I was on a skydiving team that did like every 4th of July, we jumped into a camp for cancer kids and their siblings called Camp Happy Days and Special Times. It was in Columbia. And so a bunch of us would meet in Charleston, and then we would go do this demo. And so that team kind of transitioned into some other groups. And I ended up meeting what would become my husband through that, and he was a skydiver and a base jumper also, and before we got married, I had always wanted to become a tandem instructor. I had never done a tandem. At that point I had probably several hundred jumps, and so I just thought, what an amazing experience it would be to be an instructor where you take somebody that you've never met, and within 30 minutes you got them hooked to you, and you literally get to take them on an experience that is probably one of the most out-of-body, emotional experiences that they'll ever have, and it just, I wanted to do it for fun, so I got my tandem rating. My best friend Rachel and I, we kind of became like Thelma and Louise running around, jumping and stuff. So I called her one day and I said, I want to get my tandem rating, and we've done all these things, our first base jumps and all these things together, and she's like, yeah, let's go, so we went and got our tandem ratings and started doing tandems at the drop zone on the weekends. And, I was able to take my parents and, I had the gift that all of my friends and stuff that we jumped with when their parents would be, visiting or whatever, they would always ask if I would take them. So, I got to take a lot of my friends' parents. I got to take people on their engagement jumps. Just a lot of really magical times. So,
you got a lot of big moments that you got to be there.
Huge moments. I had a guy that was an ex-Air Force pilot that had Parkinson's, and he was in his 80s, and his family would bring him out every year to make a jump with me. And, I remember making the last jump that he ever made, and he said, I don't think I'll be able to do this again because my body just won't let me. But, just really special things like that it was a gift to me, to be with people with that experience. And and just a ton of fun, it was probably the only thing I ever was involved in that crossed every financial and demographic of, there were no boundaries, we had astronauts that we skydived with, and we had, guys that mowed people's lawns for a living, and we were all the same people, drinking beer at night after we jumped all day and had a great time, and so it changed everything about my life when I started skydiving, so it's a beautiful thing. So yeah.
What was that first jump like? The first time that you just go out there?
So the first jump, it wasn't nearly as scary as you would think. I was so at peace with it because I had wanted to do it for so long. And, when you go out to make your jump, the way that I did it, you go through a class that's like 7 or 8 hours. So, you sit through this class and you're waiting all day, hoping that, your time's going to come. And I did it at a very small little drop zone. We just had a little Cessna I think we had a 152, maybe 172. But, just a very small airplane that holds 4 people.
Yeah.
So, in my class, there was only 4 people in my class that day. Well, there was one other guy that, kind of partnered with throughout the day. And, it's getting later and we haven't gotten on the plane yet. And, we got to the very last load of the day. It was going to be the sunset load. And, they said, you know what, we're only going to be able to take one of you, because they had fun jumpers out there jumping all day in tandems and other students and stuff. So the planes were full or the plane was full. And, so anyway, it's getting ready to be sunset, and they came over and they said, listen, we're going to have time for one more load before the sun goes down. And we both looked at each other and went, you go, and we did that about 3 times. He's like, no, you go. And I was like, no, you go. And he said, no, you go. And I went, all right, see ya. So, but it was the most incredible feeling. I literally didn't have any fear. I was so at peace with it. I knew that I just knew it was going to be really, liberating, I guess. I don't know, and so got in the plane with my 2 instructors, and you get out and kind of have a series of things you have to do throughout the dive, so that your instructors know that you're aware of your altitude and what's going on and different stuff like that. And they're flying next to you, and and I remember opening my parachute, and they fell away from me, and I just looked up, and the sky was just purple and blue, and the moon was starting to shine, and it was the most peaceful moment I've ever had in my whole life. It just was like, pure bliss. So so I probably went through, I don't know, maybe 25 jumps or so before I ever had any fear, and then I went through a small phase where for about, I don't know, 5 or 10 jumps in the airplane, I was very nervous. But as soon as the door would open and I'd get out, I was fine. But it was weird how it didn't really hit me at first. It was kind of a little bit delayed.
Well, do you get hyper focused kind of as you're going down, of you're paying attention very much, to
some people do.
Whatever you're.
I've seen a lot of my students over the years get like that, you know, and a lot of people in general. So, you know, I didn't, and again, my fear and my phobia was until the door opened, but once the door came open, it was like, get out, look around, you know, really take it in. And that's what, you know, for all the years I did tandems, I always told my students, I'm like, you know, the more relaxed you are, the more you're going to enjoy it. And it's so beautiful up here. And, you know, you really just need to remind yourself to look around and take it all in and enjoy it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking of it as like in basketball, it's very much like the nervous up until like you're actually going. And then you kind of get in either like the flow state or you're just mentally kind of not, I don't know, like it just goes away.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I think it
100%.
Sounds like. Less extreme than like, you
know. I did not tell my parents I was going before I went, and I called my mom on my flip phone when I left there. And, you know, to this day, she'll tell you, she's just, I've never heard you sound so excited and happy and ever. I mean, it was like just pure elation. So.
I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah. It's taken us all over the world. You know, we jumped in a lot of countries and a lot of states and a lot of met incredible people through it. And I mean, it's really just, it's been a really pivotal thing in my life. So.
Where have you traveled to go do it?
South America and Thailand, Canada, all over the U.S.
Yeah. How many states have you? All 50?
Oh, gosh. That I've jumped in?
Yeah.
No, definitely not all 50. As far as, I don't know, let's see.
I feel like Hawaii would have been pretty cool.
I've never even been to Hawaii, but it would be.
It seems like it'd be pretty cool.
I tell you, maybe the prettiest place I've ever jumped was in Canada.
Really?
We were up there. We had gotten invited to help organize for an event that they had up there, and there was all these blueberry fields, and then off in the distance, the mountains, and it was just everywhere you looked. It was so beautiful.
Just like natural, like landscapes kind of flowing, and you know,
the mountains, just really beautiful. That was probably the most pretty.
Like a Bob Ross painting.
Exactly. Happy mistakes.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Were all of them for like, or most of them for like organizations or like kind of events or something, or just fun?
Both, yeah. So, you know, once you start jumping, there are a lot of different events. You know, there's like kind of the fun, you know, gatherings where they call them like boogies, you know, where like we used to go to the World Free Fall Convention, for example, and that was considered to be a boogie. So, you know, usually with a boogie, they bring in special aircrafts that the airport doesn't typically have. So like the World Free Fall Convention was like the mecca of skydiving every year. And it was out in the middle of Quincy, in the middle of Illinois in the fields, and they would bring in a jet and, you know, a couple of different old military helicopters and hot air balloons and biplanes and DC-3s. I mean, you name it. And, you know, so you could go out there and just jump all these different things and, you know, have a couple cocktails at night. And
Did you jump from a jet?
I never jumped a jet.
Okay.
I've jumped from all those other things I just mentioned. Now that's not. I've jumped from like a C-130s and stuff like that. That was in Thailand.
Still pretty cool.
It doesn't suck. Yeah,
no.
It's and then, you know, my girlfriend Rachel that I was talking about, we went and got our pro ratings together, so we had ratings where, you know, we could jump into events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was fun. You know, we did some fun little events like that, you know, jumping into football games or, you know, different music festivals or that kind of stuff. So
I guess it's a fun way to get to go do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a lot of fun as long as you don't screw up.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see the video of those guys that got hung up going into, I think it was a Virginia game or UVA or something last week? No, 2 weeks ago, and there were 4 of them that were supposed to land. I think 3 of them landed off, and one of them got hung up on the Jumbotron and had to be rescued with a crane. I was like, that's a little embarrassing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, nothing like just dangling there.
Yeah, for an hour or so in front of the entire world.
Yeah. That would be a rough one.
Yeah. That's when you leave your helmet on and walk off the field.
Yeah. You can't get the visor to just go any further down. Yeah.
No, the visor won't go up.
No, that's a terrible one. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Screwing up there would be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But it'd be, but it's fun when you actually stick it and you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Then you get the excitement. Everyone's pumped up.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. What have you ever done like scuba diving or any of that, or just?
I've never scuba dived, only because when I kind of hit my adult life, you can't scuba dive and skydive within 24 hours of each other because of the pressure. And so, for the decades that I was skydiving, that was really all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Just go places that I could
do that.
Yeah. Now, when we went to Thailand, there was a lot of people that we went with that went early or stayed late and
did it.
Dove, or even other trips, but some of the bigger trips that we did, our friends did that, but I just spent my time jumping.
I guess one adventurous,
Yeah.
keep it as one thing.
That's right. That's right.
What was your favorite part of the other Canada, Thailand, or South America?
Yeah, so I would say Thailand, the people. I mean, the people were really just incredible. I mean, it's a predominantly Buddhist culture, and they believe that your next life is based on your existing life. So they had very, very little, and they would have given you everything they had, just out of kindness. So I thought that was absolutely the most notable thing. I mean, Thailand's a crazy place. Bangkok is cray.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It's, I mean, it's there's some wild stuff, and that crossing the road is insanity. I mean, it's 8 lanes on each side. On all 4 sides, it's crazy. So Bangkok was a little wild. We didn't spend a ton of time in Bangkok. Most of the time we were up near the Vietnam border, but we did. I mean, the first night that we showed up in Thailand, we were meeting a bunch of friends at the hotel, and we dropped our bags off, and everybody said, "Oh, there's like an outdoor bar outside." So we walked outside of the hotel, and there's like a little shack on the road right there. And we've been traveling for 2 days at this point, and exhausted, and start drinking a beer, and some dude starts walking up the road with an elephant, and I was like, "Anybody else see the elephant?"
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't drink this beer. Maybe this is not beer.
Am I the problem, or did that happen?
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe it's not just me. So just a lot of unique experiences like that. I mean, I love to travel. Traveling is, to me, is just an amazing part of life, and seeing other cultures and how people live and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we were doing a lot of stuff with the Thai military, and there was a little guy that was a meteorologist for the Thai military who would come out to the drop zone every day and watch us, and he would bring us beer, and the guy made $38 a month. And yet, here there's a bunch of Americans who clearly have far more means than that, and he would show up every single day with beer for us and stuff, and just, I just thought it was the neatest thing, and just really, incredibly cool people. Canada, I mean, certainly what I just described with the scenery and stuff, but I think the most incredible part of that was the Northern Lights, because I had never seen them like that. When I was a little girl, I remember one time we were driving back from my aunt and uncle's in Nebraska, and my dad pulled the truck over and made us all get out, and he was like, "You see that way out there?" And we could see them. And when we were in Canada the first night, we were they were cooking out for us, and we're all
Mhm.
sitting out there drinking beer, and all of a sudden, I mean, the sky just lit up and just
Yeah.
started dancing, and it was like nothing I've ever seen. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So I found that to be really special. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's one thing I'd like to go see. I think that is just one unbelievable like experience to.
yes.
I think that's an in-person experience. If you don't like grasp the like you hear the significance and like you can see a picture of it, but seeing it is just way.
I mean, seeing it off in the distance, like we did that first time, we were like, yeah, I see the green, but I mean, this was purples and blues. And I mean, we did sit there for hours and just, sat out by the campfire and just watched it. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those natural beauties that you want to otherwise really understand the significance and importance.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, I talked to Luke about it, but like the redwood trees in Oregon.
Yeah.
It's just something about seeing like, wow, that is like a small house that like you'll see a picture of it, but you don't really like, I don't know. It's just something different clicks when you're there. And it's just it's just beautiful. You get to be there and see it and experience it.
Makes you realize how small we are in this
in
this universe.
Oh, for certain.
It really does. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Do you plan to keep going anywhere new or traveling across?
Till the day
going?
I die.
Yeah.
I hope I can keep traveling.
Mm-hmm.
I love to travel. Yeah, definitely.
Is there anywhere on your bucket list that like you're like, I want to get to?
Switzerland is on my bucket list. I always wanted to go heli skiing in Switzerland.
That would be pretty fun.
Would be fun. So that's on my bucket list.
I like that it's not like go have like hot chocolate on like the Alps or anything. It's like, no, I'm gonna jump out of a helicopter and I don't want to relax or anything.
No, there will be time to relax when I can't go anymore.
Can't do all that.
I don't live life in the fast lane, and people sometimes are like, don't you ever get tired of just going? And I'm like, I don't, because I remind myself that someday I won't be able to. And, so, and my parents are both like that. I mean, my parents are very much live life to the fullest, and I come by it honest. They taught us a very adventurous spirit. So that's on my bucket list. Like Norway, for the Northern Lights there. It's definitely high on my list. Gilly and I are going to go to Greece. We've talked about that for a long time.
That's exciting.
So we've been kind of looking forward to that as like a senior trip. So, next year when she's getting out of school, that's going to be on our list. I love Germany. I've been to Germany a couple of times, and I think Germany's fabulous. Went to Poland on a business trip that I never expected I would like Poland, but it was really an incredible country. Yeah. So it's, wherever I can go. I mean,
whatever can happen.
Even if it's the TR. Just going and doing and experiencing is what it's all about. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fascinating part of being here is that you go to Georgia and it's different.
Yeah.
You can drive, you don't have to go outside of the country, but granted, it is just vastly different worlds still once you go. Like Europe is I want to go there just personally, seeing all, just so many things of like the architecture and the flow of how everything works. I know it's a completely different world already, but like getting to walk and be immersed in it.
Oh yeah.
I think it'd be very cool. I personally don't really have a high drive to go jump out of a plane in Switzerland, but it does sound interesting. It doesn't, I think that'd be cool, but maybe just regular skiing. But yeah, I mean, I just think it'd be fascinating to be over there, see it all. I
mean, don't get me wrong. I am a patriot through and through, and there's some incredible places in the States, and my family is still, out west. I love Wyoming and Montana. I've taken friends out there to experience it, and and there's some incredible places here within our own country. So.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a beautiful world, and enjoy every part you get to see.
That's right.
It's very simple. The only serious question we have this whole entire show. What piece of advice or guidance, or just anything you got of that you would pass on to anyone going through life, whatever thing you got of helpful hint from Heidi?
The first thing that comes to my mind is to be present. You know, I think that being present in every moment you're in, you know, is a gift to you and to the person that you're with. I think that, you know, you don't learn to enjoy where you are and the things you're around and the people that you're with unless you're truly present.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part. Can you actually be there?
Yeah.
You know, I think it also kind of reflects on friendship and building connections with people. If you're constantly, off, it's going to be, you can feel the disconnect.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
If you and I are sitting together having a drink or eating dinner and I'm on my phone the whole time and, you know, looking at this or paying attention to that or thinking of this, then you may as well not be sitting there with you.
Yeah, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So that's really important to me.
Well, I love that. I like it. Very fitting for what we're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I
you.
appreciate it. Loved it.
Well, me too. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool.